forced to marry him. The one man who ruined my life. The man I swore I would never forgive. Yet here I was, standing at the altar, dressed in white, while my heart screamed silently. They called it fate. I called it a nightmare. But I had no choice. The future of my family depended on this marriage. And his cold eyes held no mercy. I was just a transaction to him, a deal sealed in hate. But the truth? Hate is just love, twisted. Before we begin, tell me, where are you watching from? Leave your country in the comments below. I can't wait to see where this story goes. Now buckle up because this story isn't just about love. It's about revenge, redemption, and the kind of passion that burns everything in its path. Let's begin the story of a girl forced to marry her enemy, and how everything changed the night she looked into his eyes and saw more than just hate. The room was silent. Too silent. I could hear the beat of my own heart, loud, frantic, terrified. I stood in front of a mirror, dressed in a lace wedding gown that wasn't mine. It belonged to the fantasy of a girl I no longer was. 10 minutes, my sister whispered. Her voice trembled more than mine. I didn't speak. I couldn't. What was I supposed to say? That I was about to marry the man who once humiliated me in front of an entire school? The man whose family destroyed my father's business and left us begging for air? Liam Grayson. Even his name tasted bitter. He was tall, arrogant, devastatingly handsome, and absolutely heartless. And now he was about to become my husband. This wasn't love. This was survival. I had agreed to this marriage for one reason: to save my family. My mother's hospital bills were drowning us. My younger brother was barely eating. And Liam? He offered a deal. Marriage, in exchange for wiping all our debt. Cruel. Calculated. Cold. The doors opened. Music started. I walked down the aisle, step by step, like a prisoner walking to her own sentencing. Liam stood at the end, dressed in a black suit, his jaw tight, his eyes unreadable. Not a smile. Not a blink. When I reached him, he leaned in and whispered, "Try anything stupid, and I'll ruin you all over again." My throat closed. My chest burned. And as the priest began speaking, I realized something that made my blood run cold. This wasn't the beginning of a marriage. It was the start of a war. The ceremony ended, but the silence between us screamed louder than any vow. People clapped. Cameras flashed. But in the photos, my smile was a ghost. Liam didn't even pretend. His face was stone. Perfectly carved, perfectly emotionless. He didn't hold my hand. Didn't look at me. And yet, I felt the weight of his presence with every step we took. The car ride to the mansion was quiet. A black limousine, tinted windows, air thick with tension. I sat stiffly on one end of the seat. He sat on the other, loosening his tie like the ceremony had been an inconvenience. "You're my wife now," he said suddenly, his voice cold. "So you'll play your role. Publicly, we're happy. Privately, stay out of my way." I turned my head slowly toward him. "You don't have to remind me this is fake." He chuckled, dark and bitter. "Fake? Oh no, sweetheart. The papers are very real. And so are the rules." The mansion was massive, cold marble floors, gold accents, halls that echoed when you breathed. A castle built for a king with no heart. And now, I was the queen no one wanted. That night, I entered our bedroom. Yes, our bedroom. 2 separate beds on opposite ends. Thank God. I sat at the edge of mine, still in my gown, unsure what to do with myself. He didn't look at me when he walked in. Just threw his jacket on the couch and opened a drawer. "You'll get your own room tomorrow," he said, undoing his cuffs. "This is just for appearances tonight." I wanted to scream. Cry. Punch something. But I couldn't afford emotions. Not when my family was finally safe. So I nodded, silently. Then, just before turning off the light, he said one last thing. "You think you hate me now? Wait until you find out why I really did this." Darkness swallowed the room. But inside me, a storm had just begun. I woke up to silence, thick, hollow, uncomfortable. The kind of silence that only exists when two people in the same room are pretending the other doesn't exist. Liam was already gone. His bed was perfectly made, untouched. I hadn't even heard him leave. The sun poured through the tall windows, mocking me with its warmth. I wasn't warm. I was cold, cold like the ring on my finger, a constant reminder that I was now legally bound to my enemy. I wandered down the marble hallway, each step echoing like a countdown to something I couldn't name. "Breakfast is served in the East Wing, ma'am," a maid said with a polite smile.
Ma'am. God.
Was that who I was now? I followed the scent of coffee and toast, and there he was, Liam, seated at the end of a massive table, reading the financial section like this was any other morning. I sat, quietly. My hands trembled just enough to embarrass me. "You'll be attending a charity gala with me tonight," he said, not looking up from his newspaper. I blinked. "Tonight?"
Yes.
Where something read, "You'll smile. You'll nod. You'll play the part." His voice was clipped, controlled.
Dead.
I hated how calm he was. Like none of this mattered. Like we weren't playing with fire. "I'm not your puppet, Liam." He looked up then, and for the first time since the wedding, our eyes locked. His were steel gray, cold and unreadable.
No.
"You're not my puppet," he said, folding the paper neatly. "You're my wife." And just like that, he stood and left, leaving me with 1,000 unsaid words and a heart that couldn't stop pounding. That night, I wore the red dress he requested.
Backless.
Elegant. Dangerous. We arrived at the gala arm in arm. To the world, we looked perfect, like a couple in love. But every smile I gave was fake. Every touch he offered was calculated. The charade had begun. And yet, even through the lies and the anger, a terrifying truth was beginning to form.
Hate was easy.
But something darker, something deeper, was stirring beneath the surface. And I was afraid. Afraid of what would happen if I ever let myself feel anything real. The gala sparkled like a fairy tale. Crystal chandeliers, gold-trimmed walls, soft classical music playing from a grand piano in the corner. People floated around in designer gowns and tuxedos, sipping champagne, laughing like they had no idea what real pain felt like. And there we were, Liam and I, playing our parts. He kept a hand on my waist, the perfect husband. His lips brushed my ear with words that looked sweet to the crowd, but were ice behind closed smiles. "Remember to laugh when I do. Stand straighter. You're not a beggar here. Don't embarrass me." I wanted to slap him, but instead I smiled. We were the center of attention. Everyone wanted to speak to the Graysons. Everyone was curious about the new wife. I felt like a porcelain doll, perfectly posed but hollow inside. Until she walked in.
Tall. Blonde.
Gorgeous. And the way Liam's body stiffened beside me said everything. He hadn't expected her, but he had a history with her. That much was obvious. Her eyes locked on him and then on me. A flicker of amusement curled on her lips. Well, she purred, stepping closer. "Didn't expect this choice, Liam." I froze. He gave a tight smile. "Natalie."
Oh.
So that was her name. She looked me over like I was an auction item she'd lost a bid on. "Isn't she a little plain for you?" Liam's jaw tightened. "She's my wife." The words sounded protective. Too protective. And that confused me. Natalie smirked. "For now, I guess." I stayed silent. I wasn't about to fight over a man I didn't even want. But deep inside, something stirred. Not jealousy. Not yet. It was curiosity. Who was Natalie to Liam? Why had she looked at me like I was a joke? And more importantly, why did Liam suddenly seem so tense? That night, in the car on the way home, I broke the silence. "Who is she?" He didn't answer. So I asked again, louder. "Who is Natalie?" He looked out the window for a long time. And then, with a quiet, bitter voice, he said, "The reason I don't believe in love." I didn't sleep that night. Liam's words haunted me. The reason I don't believe in love. Natalie wasn't just some ex. She was a scar, and scars don't fade easily. The next morning, I sat alone in the breakfast room. I picked at a croissant I didn't want, surrounded by paintings worth more than my family's house. Liam wasn't there. Of course he wasn't. But the questions were. Later, I found the maid, Elena. Kind. Observant. Always quiet, but always watching. Do you know who Natalie is? I asked, careful not to sound too eager. She hesitated. I shouldn't say anything. I'm not asking as his wife. I'm asking as someone trapped in a game I don't understand. Her eyes softened. She glanced around before whispering. She was supposed to marry him. My breath caught. What? 3 years ago. Their families arranged it. Everyone thought it was done. But then she left him for his brother. His brother? Suddenly, 100 pieces of Liam's coldness clicked into place. The hatred, the bitterness, the walls. No wonder he didn't believe in love. That night, Liam returned late. His tie loosened, jaw tight. You were gone all day, I said, surprising even myself with the edge in my voice. He raised an eyebrow. Didn't know I had to check in with my fake wife. I stood up. You lied. His eyes narrowed. About what? Natalie. The engagement. Your brother. Silence. Then slowly he stepped closer. Too close. Did Elena tell you? He asked, voice low and dangerous. I had a right to know. I shot back. You dragged me into this mess. At least let me understand the battlefield. His jaw clenched. Then something flickered behind his eyes. Pain? Regret? She was everything, he said softly. Until she wasn't. My voice trembled. And now you punish everyone because of her? He didn't answer. But I saw it then, the truth behind his cruelty. He wasn't heartless. He was broken. And for reasons I didn't understand, yet a part of me wanted to fix him, even if it meant breaking myself in the process. The next few days passed in silence. Not the cold, angry kind, but something heavier. Like we were both walking on the edge of a cliff, one wrong word from falling. Liam barely spoke to me. But when he did, his voice had changed, less sharp, more measured. I couldn't tell if it was guilt or confusion. Maybe both. I wasn't the only one unraveling. One evening, I was in the library, one of the few rooms in the mansion that actually felt alive. The fire was crackling, the rain tapping against the windows like a soft warning. That's when he walked in. Didn't know you read, he said quietly, glancing at the book in my hand. Didn't know you cared. I replied, not even looking up. He didn't snap back. Instead, he walked to the fireplace and stood there, hands in his pockets, watching the flames like they held answers he couldn't find anywhere else. I don't know how to do this, he said finally. I closed the book. Do what?
This.
Marriage.
You.
Us. I should have reminded him that this wasn't real, that we were enemies forced into a contract neither of us wanted. But my voice got stuck in my throat, because for the first time he looked vulnerable. I'm not Natalie, I said softly. He looked at me then, and something flickered in his eyes. Not anger, not pain, curiosity. He took a slow step closer, then another, until I could feel the heat of his body just inches from mine. No, he whispered. You're not. There was a silence between us.
Thick.
Electric. And then his hand reached out, almost without permission, and brushed a strand of hair behind my ear. My heart slammed against my ribs. He didn't kiss me, but he didn't have to. That moment, quiet, charged, breathless, was more intimate than any kiss could be. And it scared me, because it meant the walls were cracking. And once they fell, neither of us would be the same. The air between us had changed. Even if we didn't speak about it, we felt it. Little things, how his eyes lingered longer, how my breath hitched when his hand brushed mine, how silence between us now felt safe, not strained. But happiness? It doesn't knock. It sneaks in quietly just before the storm. And the storm came wearing red lipstick and a cruel smile. Natalie. She was back. I found her in the living room, like she owned the place. Draped across the velvet couch, sipping from a crystal glass like she was still the queen of his world. What are you doing here? I asked, my voice calm but cold. She smiled. Oh, darling, I was invited. Liam entered the room then, his face stone. You said you wouldn't come, he growled. She stood, walked over slowly, her stilettos echoing like warning shots. You didn't mean it, she purred. You never do. I hated the way she touched his chest. I hated more that he didn't flinch. I'm his wife now, I said, forcing steel into my voice. She turned to me, her smile sharper. And I was supposed to be, until he ruined it. That struck a nerve. What do you want? Liam demanded. Natalie's eyes gleamed. To finish what we started. That night, everything changed again. Liam didn't come to bed. I sat alone in the cold sheets, wondering if the man who had almost touched my heart had already given it away long ago. Was I just a placeholder? A distraction? Or worse, a revenge piece in a game I didn't even know I was part of? I didn't cry, but something inside me cracked. And I knew, if I didn't protect myself soon, I wouldn't survive this marriage. Not with my heart intact. Natalie's return shook something loose in me. Not jealousy. Instinct. Something wasn't right. I could feel it in the air. The way Liam avoided my eyes. The way she walked around this house, like she still had a claim to it. This wasn't about love. It wasn't even about revenge. It was something else. And I needed answers. So I started digging. It began with the office, Liam's sanctuary. Off limits. Always locked. Except today it wasn't. The door creaked open under my hand. A quiet invitation. Inside, everything was meticulous. Not a paper out of place. But beneath the perfection, secrets waited. In a locked drawer, I found it. A contract. Natalie's name. Liam's signature. And something else, a clause with a transfer of shares. 50% of the Kingstone Empire upon marriage. My blood ran cold. She wasn't back for love. She was back for power. And Liam? He wasn't just angry at her betrayal. He was terrified she'd try again. Which meant I wasn't the only pawn in this game. Suddenly, our fake marriage didn't feel so fake anymore. I heard footsteps, fast, angry. Liam stood in the doorway, eyes blazing. What are you doing? He demanded. I held up the contract. Why didn't you tell me?
He looked away.
Because you were never supposed to find out. Find out what? That she's back to take everything from you? That you married me to block her? That I'm just another shield? His silence was the answer I feared. I trusted you, I whispered. You shouldn't have, he said, his voice low, regretful. He stepped closer. But now that you know, you need to decide. Decide what? If you're willing to play this game with me, or walk away before it destroys you. My heart thundered. Because the truth was, part of me already belonged to him. And the other part was starting to wonder if walking away would hurt more than staying. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Liam's confession echoed in my mind, louder than the storm outside. I was a pawn, a means to an end. But part of me still wanted to believe the way he looked at me, touched me, held me when no one was watching, meant something real. Was I a fool? Or just in too deep to crawl back out? By morning, I had made my decision. I wasn't going to walk away. If Liam was playing a game, then I'd learn the rules. And I'd win. For me, not for him. I confronted him in the dining room, cold, distant, controlled. I'll stay, I said. But only on my terms. He raised an eyebrow. And those are no more lies. I get full access to everything. And if you ever use me again, I'll burn this empire down myself. His mouth twitched, like he almost admired the fire in me.
Deal, he said.
And just like that, we were no longer enemies or lovers. We were allies. But trust is fragile. And betrayal doesn't always come from the front. That afternoon, I received a text from an unknown number. Meet me at the greenhouse.
Come alone.
It's about Liam. I went.
Of course I did.
And I wasn't prepared for who I found. Elena, my best friend. My only friend in this twisted new world. What's going on? I asked, confused. She looked nervous.
Guilty.
You need to leave now, she said. Liam's not who you think he is. He's dangerous. My blood chilled. Why are you telling me this? She hesitated. And that's when I saw it, the earpiece. She wasn't warning me. She was luring me. Footsteps behind me. A hand over my mouth. Darkness. And the last thing I heard? Natalie's voice. Looks like you overstayed your welcome, sweetheart. The first thing I felt was the cold. Then the pain. My head throbbed as if it had been split open. My wrists burned from the ropes. And the smell, damp, metallic, told me I wasn't anywhere safe. Concrete walls. A single bulb swinging overhead. I was in a basement. Welcome back. Natalie's voice dripped like poison. She leaned against a steel table, smiling like a cat that had just caged a bird. I thought about killing you, she said casually. But where's the fun in that? I didn't respond. I saved my strength. You really thought he chose you? She scoffed. He married you to block me. You were nothing more than a strategic piece. Her words sliced deep, but I'd heard them before. I didn't want to believe them then, and I didn't now. But what she said next shattered everything. You know that contract you found? He didn't sign it to protect his company. He signed it after we got engaged. He was going to marry me until you came along. I froze. No, I whispered.
Oh, yes.
He only married you after I broke it off. You weren't his shield, sweetheart. You were his rebound. I couldn't breathe. The image of Liam, the warmth in his eyes, the softness in his touch, it all crumbled. He hadn't saved me. He'd settled for me. The door creaked. Liam entered, eyes wild, fists clenched. She doesn't need to know this, he growled. She deserves to, Natalie hissed. Or, do you want to keep lying to your precious little bride? He looked at me.
Just me.
And I saw it.
Guilt.
Regret. And something else, fear. I wanted to scream.
To cry.
But I only asked one question. Is it true? He didn't answer. And silence can scream louder than anything. The silence after my question was louder than any scream. Liam didn't deny it.
He didn't have to.
The truth sat heavy between us, choking what little hope remained. Natalie smiled, savoring the destruction. You see, she whispered, even your pain was part of his plan. Liam reached for me, but I stepped back. No, I snapped. You don't get to touch me. Not after this. He froze. I turned to Natalie. Let me go. She laughed. And, miss the fireworks? Not a chance. I don't care about your war. I'm done being in the middle. But something shifted in her eyes. A flicker of surprise. I realized something in that moment. She wanted Liam destroyed, but she wasn't sure she could do it alone. So, I made her an offer. I'll help you, I said. I'll walk away from him, and take something he can't afford to lose. Liam's jaw clenched. Don't do this. But I looked straight at Natalie. On one condition. She crossed her arms. Name it. You help me disappear. She narrowed her eyes, calculating.
Fine.
But if you ever come back, I won't. I didn't wait for Liam to speak. I didn't want his apologies or excuses. I wanted out. Natalie nodded to one of her guards. They cut the ropes and handed me a burner phone. Use this to contact me when you're ready, she said. You have 24 hours. I stumbled out of the basement, knees shaking, vision blurred. But I wasn't weak. Not anymore. That night, I packed a bag. I took my mother's locket, the one thing that reminded me who I was before all this madness. And then, I vanished. No note. No goodbye. Just silence. Let them wonder. Let him suffer. For once, the game wasn't his to control. It was mine. 6 months. That's how long I was gone. Gone from the mansion, from the chaos, from Liam. Gone from that version of myself. The girl who was used, betrayed, discarded. I found a quiet coastal town in Italy, where no one asked questions and the sea washed away memories I didn't want to keep. I worked in a bookstore. I lived above a cafe. I laughed again. And for a while, I believed I was free. Until he walked through the door. I was rearranging a shelf when I felt it, that unmistakable presence that once made my heart race. I turned and there he was. Liam, standing in the doorway, looking like a ghost I hadn't invited. My breath caught in my throat. He didn't speak right away. Just looked at me like he was afraid I'd vanish again. "How did you find me?" I asked, my voice cold. "You left a trail," he said softly. "One I wasn't supposed to follow, but I had to." "You had no right." "I know." He stepped closer. "But I need you to hear the truth." I scoffed. "You've already told it, without words, without shame." "No," he said, firmer now. "What Natalie told you, it wasn't the whole story." I didn't move.
Didn't breathe.
She blackmailed me. She used my past, my father's secrets. I had no choice. "You always had a choice." "I chose you." The words hit hard. "You don't get to say that," I whispered. "Not after everything." He pulled something from his jacket, my mother's locket. I frowned. "How did you?" "You dropped it the night you disappeared. I kept it, hoping that one day I'd see you again." The emotion in his voice cracked something inside me. But I wasn't ready to forgive.
Not yet.
"I don't know if I can believe you," I admitted. He stepped forward, placing the locket in my hand. "Then let me prove it. No lies. No power plays. Just us." A storm brewed behind my eyes. Because I still loved him. And that terrified me more than anything. I held the locket in my palm, the metal warm from Liam's hand. It was like holding the past, one that had burned me, broken me, but never quite let me go. We sat in silence in the tiny bookstore, the hum of the sea in the background. "How do I know you won't hurt me again?" I finally asked. Liam's gaze didn't waver. "Because this time, I don't care about the company. Or revenge. Or Natalie. I only care about you." I laughed, bitter and soft. "Funny. That's what you should have cared about first." "I know," he said. "And I'll regret that every day. But I'm here now. Not as a husband in a contract. Not as an enemy. Just a man in love with the woman he never deserved." Tears blurred my vision. I wanted to hate him. I wanted to run again. But I didn't move. Because love doesn't vanish when it's real. It aches. It waits. It fights to breathe. "Do you still have the ring?" I whispered. He reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a velvet box, faded from time and too many nights of regret. "I never took it back," he said. "I couldn't." He opened it. The same ring. But this time the promise felt different. No contracts. No lies. Just a second chance. I stared at it for a long moment. Then I closed the box gently and looked him in the eyes. "You want me?" I asked.
Then stay.
"Don't ask me for anything. No titles. No labels. Just stay." He nodded, eyes glassy. "For as long as you'll have me." And just like that, he stayed. No grand declarations. No rushed decisions. Just two broken hearts trying to heal together. We rebuilt.
Slowly.
Quietly. And over time, the enemy I once hated became the man I couldn't live without. Sometimes love doesn't arrive wrapped in perfection. Sometimes it comes with scars and bruises. But if it survives the war, it becomes unbreakable. Did this story take your breath away? Leave a heart in the comments and tell us where you're watching from. And if you want more enemies turn lovers stories with high stakes and deeper emotions, stay tuned. There's more to come.